Gigi Murin's birthday stream was an absolute roleplayer's dream. It got recommended to me in my Discord server, and they were like, look, it's 3.5 hours long. I don't think you can do a reaction to it, but in your own personal time, enjoy it. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds quite nice. I might watch it. And I hadn't got round to it. Yet, but now I see Reya, who is the one that set up the entire story to it, has released a video explaining it. So I'm coming into this blind. I know nothing of what happened in the roleplay. I can only imagine it was chaos and pandemonium. And now I get to hear what was planned from the creator herself, Reya. I'm extremely excited to watch this video. I heard it was just so much fun, so much chaos. So look, let's get into the reaction, guys.
Hello, I'm Reya, and I wrote the plot.
She has a really nice model, by the way. It has to be said. She has a great model.
With 13 players role-playing over 3.5 hours, there was a lot
oh yeah, that must have been absolute
there,
hell to write.
Definitely get confusing. So I'm here to lay out the main plot and all of its juicy details in an easy, digestible way for you. This video is divided
and I appreciate
into 3
that
sections.
a lot.
The first 2 go over the lore and planning, primarily from the murderer's point of view, to lead up to the party. The third covers the actual game and stream and what the flow for it was intended to be. But before the lore, a small bit on how the game was run. Every player was given a character sheet. Some were very simple.
Okay, so like standard D and the Jesus. Who was that? Whose player sheet is that? Hang on, that's commitment. That's pure commitment. Hold on. It's Liz. Ah. Liz really went into it.
Setting of the game. 2 rival gangs in the city holo drive fighting for power, and 1 Gigi murin hoping to bridge the gap between them to obtain peace. Each player had a
That's a cool scenario
and an objective, or 2, for the game. Some people had items, some had roles with abilities, and none of these were disclosed to other players to push a focus on roleplay rather than metagaming. Everyone had a list of their relationships with every other character, and most importantly, they had a section noting what they were doing during the times of 4,
so this is extremely in-depth,
which is when the trick was tampered with, which leads me to Elizabeth. She was a Sherlock-obsessed sociopath who wanted to capture the thrills of those books for herself. She joined the gang Justice, but when the highs weren't enough, she decided to stage her own real murder party.
Oh, Liz.
Elizabeth knew that Gigi was having a love affair with Ina. Elizabeth also knew that Cecilia had a crush on Gigi.
This is all news. What a sell!
Up as the primary suspect. Elizabeth told Cecilia that she could appeal to Gigi's nature by recommending renting a haunted house for her upcoming birthday.
Oh, Liz, you
loved the idea,
absolute
and she
scumbag.
even bought the mansion. Elizabeth also talked to Bay about Cecilia's crush and encouraged Bay to get her to confess.
Bay's design looks cool, by the way.
Confessing her feelings
all these designs look awesome.
Ultimately being rejected. Meanwhile, Nerissa was in debt to Advent after sleeping with Shiori and stealing from her.
Hold on, Nerissa!
Shiori had Biju hunt her down and enlist her to their gang, and she worked for them for a few years under their thumb. Elizabeth learned of her predicament and gave her an out. If Nerissa helped her execute her party,
Liz is an absolute mastermind to this.
She would help her escape Advent, or take it over with Justice's help. Nerissa agreed. From there, duties were delegated to the members of Justice for the party.
Plotted.
Raura was in charge of feeding the piranhas. Cecilia was in charge of making sure the key for Gigi's escape was in the tank box, and Elizabeth handled finance. Fauna, a wealthy city who was secretly our vigilante, funded the party. Using her money, Elizabeth bought a rusty tank, low-budget food for piranhas, sugar cubes, a very high-quality skeleton that did not arrive, by the way, and 4 sets of house keys. She gave the receipt to Gigi after buying everything, knowing she's illiterate, but she didn't know that.
Come on, did she have to do Gigi like that? Even in VRP.
Gigi diligently made her own copy of it and stashed it away before giving the receipt back. Elizabeth then forged a fake receipt, which she gave to Fauna, saying she bought a high-quality tank.
Liz, how are you gonna scam Fauna like that? Hey guys, currently editing Laverick here. Now, I just realised something which, if I hadn't noticed, I would have handed in my British passport. So on the receipt, it's Sainsbury's and Waitrose. And if you guys don't know, they are British supermarket chains. So look, I just had to interrupt. I felt it in my bones. I could feel it. I was like, I need to just cut in here and just be like, oh, British. That's all it is. I just had to edit in this little clip of me going, oh look, British things. Okay, back to the actual reaction. Let's go.
And a very high quality skeleton that did not arrive, by the way. And 3 sets of keys
69,
to the mansion.
420, come on now.
Keys were distributed.
Come
1
on
to
now.
Raura and 2 to Gigi. Gigi gave the second privately to Ina so that she could come and visit her at the mansion while she was working on her party. The fourth secret key was given
Gigi
to
got
Nerissa.
that dog.
This happened on...
Okay,
Gigi went
party.
home early the night before her party. Reya stayed late at the mansion working on the final preparations for the party. Cecilia was dealing with her heartbreak, and Elizabeth comforted her and recommended a bar for her to go to drown out her sorrows. When Cecilia went there, she ran into
Peaky Blinders, come on now. You know I live near to Birmingham, come on now.
Nerissa, who was waiting for her there on Elizabeth's orders. As a known lady killer of Advent, Nerissa used her experience on the matters of love to comfort Cecilia and drink with her, getting her wasted before sending her home at 3:30 a.m. Elizabeth went out to do a hit job, bringing her body back to Reya and giving her the task of delivering it to the morgue where Iris would dispose of it for them, and instructed Reya to write up a report afterwards, attempting to deprive her of sleep and exhaust her for the next day. Elizabeth and Reya both left the mansion together at 4 a.m. and traveled back to the city. Reya split off to go and meet with Iris, whilst Elizabeth went to the bar to look for Cecilia. At 4:25 a.m., Elizabeth met Nerissa and handed her the extra keys to the mansion. Nerissa traveled to the mansion and arrived at 4:40 a.m. and tampered with everything. She replaced the fish food with sugar cubes as they dissolve in water and keep the piranhas hungry. She wrote derogatory comments on the walls. She jammed the failsafe lever on the tank. She replaced the key in the box with one that wouldn't work and planted fake documents that contained threats.
Watch your back, Justice. Back off of our territory. We're going to commit arson.
Bay, who was still living in the mansion, woke up at 5 a.m. to the noise, but she was too afraid to investigate. She tried to call Gigi and Crony, her two closest friends, but neither of them picked up. Nerissa left after finishing her job, and Gigi returned to the mansion at 6 a.m. Making the time window for the crime between 4 a.m. when Reya and Elizabeth left the mansion and 6 a.m. when Gigi came back. Many other things occurred at this time of night with many other people, which would all be revealed at...
I'm sorry, just the setup alone is absolutely comprehensive. The amount of effort and time it must have took Reya to get everything coherent and all these storylines overlapping. Fair play, man. That is talent. That is a lot of talent and dedication to that right there.
When Gigi died, the first thing that should have been explored was, how did her trick go wrong? Justice can offer that Reya was in charge of feeding the piranhas, Cecilia was in charge of the key, and Elizabeth was in charge of the finances, aka buying the tank. Elizabeth could instantly call Fauna to show the fake receipt and prove that she bought a very high quality tank, and it wasn't her fault that the tank sucked. Reya would be very tired from working the previous night and say that the fish food is in the kitchen and she can prove she fed them. Her alibi is also airtight. She left the mansion at 4 a.m. with Elizabeth and then traveled and met Iris at 4:40 a.m. to get rid of a dead body. This exonerates both Iris and Reya and strengthens Elizabeth's position as she left with Reya, who locked the door to the mansion behind them. Cecilia was designed to be my professional victim. Forgive me, Cecilia. Players can attempt to open the tank, finding it jammed. And if they force it, then it will open and reveal the key that Gigi tried to use to unlock her binds, and find that it's whittled and unusable, which led to her death. When questioning Cecilia, she can claim it was fine yesterday, but her alibi becomes a problem for her. Two more questions.
Yeah, it's a little bit weak.
When did the tampering take place, and who had access to the house? For the time frame, as we said, Reya and Elizabeth can say that they left at 4 a.m. Bay can say she heard noises at 5 a.m. And Gigi returned to the mansion at 6 a.m. Gigi can also confirm this through the psychic, so we have that down. For house access, Justice knows that 3 sets of keys to the mansion exist. Reya has 1 and Gigi had 2. They don't know who has the second set, but they can assume that that person might be the culprit. It's also semi-common knowledge that Bay was living at the house,
right? But Ina has the second set.
Some suspicion. Her lack of alibi should also put her on people's radars. Because she did try and call Crony and Gigi, they can confirm that she did try to reach out to them, but it's not hard evidence that she's safe.
No, it's all, what's the word? Substantial evidence, I think.
She should say that she was with Nerissa drinking at the bar, and that she got wasted and passed out for the night, which is true, but Nerissa, having planned with Elizabeth beforehand, should say that Cecilia left at 3:30 a.m. and didn't seem very drunk at all. Elizabeth should also claim that she went to go find Cecilia after leaving the mansion at 4 a.m. and went to the bar, meeting Nerissa there, and got into a fight with her. And then afterwards, she went to look for Cecilia at the
so bad for Cece
and she couldn't find her at either of them. This should throw shade on Cecilia that she might be lying. It also removes her alibi and makes it possible that she could have been the culprit for the crime. She should be the person with the highest suspicion at this point in the story. There is also backstory between Cecilia and Fauna.
Can I just say, this is so in-depth, this is awesome. Is this how it played out? I know this is how Reya had it planned out to map out throughout the story. Is it actually how it played out in the 3.5 hour actual roleplay? Because it's hololive. I can see it taking a bit of a tangent juice here and there. So is this actually how it played out?
When Fauna was younger, Cecilia was a maid for her family. Fauna believed that they were very close friends.
The Green family household,
Justice,
of course.
Cecilia works as a political savant who dances her way through the social elite to work them into supporting their gang. Fauna comes from the wealthiest family in Hollow Drive, and Cecilia was sent to work under them and find a way to manipulate them. However,
I'm starting to feel a little bit less sad for Cece. How dare you manipulate Fauna?
Police investigation
fuck
exposed
Cece.
Cecilia
Deserves to
as she
lose.
had to abandon
Deserves to be the
Fauna's
victim.
family. She avoided Fauna especially ever since. Fauna went through the police system as a result after being involved in a crime that Cecilia
Dare he
committed
take her
before
melons.
being found innocent and having her family bail her out. She grew embittered and pursued vigilante work to deal justice herself. When she got the
I am the justice.
opportunity to fund Gigi's party through Crony, she took the chance because she wanted to see how Cecilia was doing. And if she judged her to be evil, then she wanted to kill her herself. This is meant to encourage her to
Psycho
house Cecilia in
Fauna.
the game and make Cecilia more uncomfortable and unable to defend herself. Now, the first round of the game is intended to get as much information out as possible, with the second part of the game leaving room for people to sort out said information and match it to people's claims to figure out who's lying or not. In the kitchen, players would discover the fish food was replaced with sugar cubes, which would not have been suitable as food. However, some would be missing, proving Reya did feed them. She just made a mistake due to exhaustion. Reya's character was meant to serve as a tutorial for alibis and evidence. If players chose to explore the kitchen, they would also find a custom tea in the cupboards that seemed to have been made especially for Gigi, with her name on the packaging. With intentional roleplay, they could find out that Ina smells like tea, as Ina used to own a tea shop, and she's the one that made this gift for Gigi due to their ongoing love affair. In the bedroom, if players chose to explore, they would find that it is very much lived in by Bay.
Yeah, that's definitely
not
Bay.
meant to be a revelation at this
There was a
point.
letter at the
In
back.
the fireplace, however, is a letter from Cecilia to Gigi with a confession of love. It was thrown there to burn, but due to a mistake, it survived. This reveal gives a motive to Cecilia. Players should be able to figure out that she was rejected due to how the letter was discarded, and Cecilia's interactions with Gigi in the lobby can help that too. Suddenly,
But why is that
she
in
has
Bay's room?
no alibi and a reason for killing Gigi, anger over her rejection. In the study, players can find Gigi's will on the desk. It reveals that in the event of Gigi's
Prepared.
death, she leaves the entire mansion to Bay. Reya organized writing it for her, so she would be aware of its existence. Bay now has a motive to kill Gigi to get the mansion and potentially
Not Ina.
sell it for money. However, some players know that Bay was being allowed to live in the mansion anyway, so it shouldn't be entirely
Wait, so why was Bay allowed to live in the mansion? What's the backstory to that? I'm not sure if she's covered that yet.
convincing. It would be a massive greed play, and people should know that Bay was a good person. Now, the library is filled with both red herrings and the key to ending
Oh,
the
do
game.
love a red herring.
On the floor are forged files from Advent to Justice, threatening them with violence, as a means for anyone who wants to push the Justice vs. Advent angle to do so. There's a flashlight, which reveals UV paint on the walls as well. When used in the library, it would reveal the word hussy, which was intended to incriminate Cecilia further, painting her as a bitter reject who thought Gigi must be sleeping with other people if she wouldn't want to be with her. This should have been further enforced as evidence after people found out about Ina's relationship with Gigi.
It just must
For
have
the
had
real
such an
evidence,
incentive
if people
against
interacted
Cecilia.
with the bookcase, then they would have found a hidden compartment with a small box that Gigi put in there. Inside it is a live rat, which I added because I found funny, and a key with a code on it. This code unlocks some final evidence at the end of the game.
Oh, and the key's shaped
final
like
room
her
is a
tail.
very
Oh, that's a
large
nice little
bathroom.
touch.
If the flashlight is used here, it reveals the word wench on one of the mirrors. More importantly, there's a purple lipstick kiss on the mirror that came from Ina. If Ina was in the room at the time, then she would be
Ina?
identified out loud.
Ayo.
But if not, then players would be allowed to study it, and would be notified in the next lobby of who they noticed to be wearing that lipstick. At that point, the lights go off and people return to the lobby to share all that they've learned together, as well as the first murder occurring. I intended for Ina's plotline to be the main subject of discussion for this lobby, as it was the most recent development in the latest room. Players would be notified that they identify the lipstick, and then they would call her out. The kiss reveals that she had access to the mansion, and she would have had to have had defended herself.
Ooh.
How did she get in? Why do people not know who she is? So on, so on.
Mysterious.
This puts her in a
Your
hard
mom.
situation, as her character and secondary win condition restrict her from revealing her love affair with Gigi. So she would have had to have been secretive about it the entire game. But at this point,
that does
she can
add a
be forced
detail.
to reveal her alibi, which is that she was out delivering blackmail money at 4:30 a.m. to someone anonymously threatening her. She has the note on her, which she can reveal. The person threatening her was Biju. Ina met Biju at her tea shop and made friends with her. Biju set her up with her sibling, and then that sibling later died. Ina went into hiding, and Biju threatened and paid Crony to break her moral code and sell her information on Ina. Crony investigated her, finding out that she had 4 other dead exes before Biju's sibling. Crony then threatened Biju
Ina!
to never reveal that she had done this job for her, as it
Femme
would destroy
fatale.
her reputation. Later, when Gigi met Ina and encouraged her to live life again, Biju started blackmailing her until the present day. Whilst Biju can't talk about her involvement with Crony, she can push the information about Ina's exes to try and incriminate her, as Gigi has now been added to the list as the 6th dead ex. Iris, as the cop, also has information that the police had investigated Ina in the past for having ties to a lot of dead people.
I do love how
However,
everyone has like these
Biju can
proper
also
law
confirm
accurate
Ina's alibi,
outfits.
as she did leave the blackmail money out at
And it's
4:30
just
a.m.,
Iris.
and Biju collected it at 5 a.m. This exonerates them both, which is also effective if people were giving Biju heat for the documents in the library. Biju's secondary win condition involves not revealing that she blackmailed Ina, so she is put in a hard place with how to handle this. It's meant to make things vague enough that Ina still looks suspicious, depending on what's revealed. The most important thing, however, is that after Ina is called out and has to air her secrets, she can now openly admit that when she was delivering the blackmail money, she saw Nerissa heading towards the mansion. Suddenly, the focus of the game should switch from Ina to Nerissa, and since Elizabeth's alibi was partly with Nerissa, it should also make her seem a little less concrete. Since Nerissa was the main person making Cecilia seem suspicious too, her being incriminated now also makes
this is so
Cecilia
in-depth.
seem more in the clear. Now, in the game, I had 2 information gathering roles: the cop, Iris, and the pickpocket, Bay. The cop can check a player every round to see if they've used their ability at all in the entire game, and the pickpocket can see what items someone has on them. The intent for these was to help confirm people's innocence. If the cop reveals no ability used, they know that that person hasn't done anything potentially shady. If the pickpocket finds no weapon, then there's also no way they could be the murderer. I had wanted them to use these on the most suspicious players. For example, Ina has no role ability, but she has
Using the
keys to the
term
mansion.
I
If
wanted
checked
them
at any
to
point, people would have
means
been able
they
to use
probably
that to push her for
didn't.
information. Similarly, Cecilia has no role ability and no weapon item, so checking her would clear her. Nerissa, on the other hand, has the ability to lock rooms to stop people
Your role
moving
and
to them
ability.
during rounds,
Murderous
and has
right
a set
and
of
man.
keys, which
Yeah,
would
that
both
seems a bit-
flagged to both roles that she is guilty or suspicious in some way. At the end of the lobby, players would be made to put up someone they think is suspicious. This is voted on, and then that player has 2 minutes to defend themselves. After that, everyone votes anonymously on whether
Mume.
to kill them or
What did
spare them.
Mume do?
The results of the vote are
Haven't even heard Reya mention Mume and her role in all of this yet.
published after, which can help give evidence on who might be suspicious. After this lobby, the second round would get players in private rooms with each other and figure out information without chaos. When they return to the lobby again with another player dead, an event would trigger where a tile under the rug in the lobby is dislodged by the tank falling apart, revealing a box with a code lock. If the flashlight was used in the lobby, it would also find a message saying "Go to hell" with an arrow pointing downwards towards the floor. Whilst this was unintentional by Nerissa, who left the message, it's a double hint by me towards the box being underneath them. However, whoever found the key in the library with the code on it can use the
and
code to open the box.
it says boob
Inside
on
it
it.
is Gigi's. Now, Gigi had broadcast the existence of her treasure before the event, and that she would be hiding it at her party. Biju found out about it, and it's why she reached out to Gigi to have Advent come to her party in the first place. She was intent on getting her treasure. The treasure is revealed to be Gigi's birthday merchandise. I know, but the box
All of that to shill a 3.5-hour roleplay just to sell your merch. Honestly, I respect that. I respect that so much.
holds a love letter to Ina from Gigi, hinting at a proposal. Finally, the copy of the real receipt that Gigi made is in this box, revealing all of the dodgy items that Elizabeth bought, as well as the extra set of keys. This should fully incriminate Elizabeth and blindside her as she didn't know of the receipt's existence. She should try her best with Nerissa to point fingers at other players. Bay was never fully safe and didn't have an alibi. Biju is from Evil Advent and has been holding Nerissa in debt and definitely came here to kill Gigi. Ina killed all her exes and definitely killed Gigi too. Even if people were exonerated by alibis or other facts, it's easy to stir chaos in a large group of people. However, people should refocus and put up Elizabeth to kill her. At this point, I wanted it to be known that Elizabeth also had an accomplice. People should figure out that it was Nerissa and kill her too, due to the evidence of her being spotted going to the mansion. If any player directly shone the flashlight on Nerissa as well, then we intended to reveal that she had UV paint on her fingers from where she was drawing on the walls.
Again, the use of the word intended
she had the extra set of keys
means
from
it
when
probably
she met with Elizabeth
didn't
the night
happen.
before, which they both confirmed to have happened. When it came to Elizabeth, it was meant to be a few small things that people realized looking back that makes her look suspicious. She gave Reya the body disposal job to get her out of the mansion and give a time frame for Nerissa to tamper with the trick. She also then overworked Reya with a write-up due that day to deprive her of sleep and have her make mistakes on the day of the party. She manipulated Cecilia to make Gigi acquire the mansion in an alone
Liz was a right
place where a
mastermind.
murder could happen uninterrupted. She also manipulated Bay to get Cecilia to confess her feelings, knowing she'd be rejected.
Always beware the British.
Suspicious. And for both of those, she stayed one step removed to not seem like she was puppeteering everything. This was to be the natural conclusion of the game if everything went perfectly.
Yeah.
Of course, nothing is ever that simple, and there's a lot of fun for me in seeing how it plays out whilst live. For the other characters not mentioned, they were mostly there to provide support in terms of alibis, information, and relationships to create drama and interest. Crony knew a lot of people's secrets, but she couldn't say them due to her status as a trusted person. So she had to poke people in the right directions. Mume and Shiori were competitive business rivals, being a fortune teller and psychic respectively. Iris and Callie were
I love that. I want to know more about that. How a psychic and a fortune teller battle it out for business. I want to see more of that.
To be afraid that Callie might leak her identity as an undercover cop the entire time, whilst Callie believed she was part of a fun murder mystery party with a bunch of actors. Overall, I think
just
all
oblivious.
the character lore got explored for the most part, and everyone played their parts in such fun ways. There was so many memorable moments, and it was so gratifying to witness people having fun with my story. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and watched, and if there's anything anyone else is interested in hearing about, then feel free to ask. Thanks again to Gigi for asking me to work with you, and shoutouts to the amazing team I got to work with. Bones, Vani, Ori, and Kani, you're all amazing. Much love, and happy birthday, Gigi!
So, absolute... That was cinema. Fair play, Reya. She absolutely went above and beyond when it comes to that roleplay and setting everything up. The backstories, the character sheets, everything. So fair play, Reya. It must have been so fun watching everyone play the roleplay that you set out. But be honest now, be honest. Did it get a little bit frustrating if they missed something that you thought was obvious, or you set something up and then they just completely skipped it? Come on, you gotta be honest with me. Was it just a little bit... It's right there. It's right there. You can't tell me you weren't backseating just a little bit. No, honestly, credits due where credits due. You did an amazing job, not just with the roleplay, but this video setting out what you expected to happen, what scenarios you planned out. So really, really talented storyteller. So guys, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to Reya's channel. I'll leave it in the description below. If you've enjoyed my reaction to the video, leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Laverick out. Bye.